My name's Mitchell Kessler. I'm 42, married for 14 years. 2 kids, stable income, small real estate side hustle, and a house in one of those neighborhoods where everyone keeps their grass short and their secrets shorter. My wife, Dana, had always been the warm one. People person. PDA star. Friendly with the barista. Hugged strangers. She had that soft power kind of charm, the kind that makes people open up without realizing they're bleeding. She came to me one evening while we were folding laundry and said, "What if we rented out the guest house? You know, make some extra money while you sleep." We had a detached unit in the backyard. Used it mostly for storage and relatives that never stayed long. I shrugged. "Sure," I said, "if you're up for managing it." She smiled like I just agreed to buy her a yacht. 2 weeks later, he showed up. His name was Landon, 19. Said he was between things, finishing community college, working on an app idea, helping his mom with bills. He was tall, skinny, wore vintage sweatshirts, and always had chipped black nail polish. Dana said she found him through a local housing group. He was polite. Too polite. Said things like, "Yes, ma'am," and "Thanks again for trusting me." I didn't trust him, but I said nothing. They were friendly. A little too friendly. Dana laughed at all his stupid jokes. She offered to show him how to use the washer-dryer anytime. I passed by the guest house once and heard her voice inside. She said she was just checking on the blinds. Who checks on blinds? Then things started to not add up. I never saw cash come in. No rent. No Venmo. No PayPal activity. But Dana said, "He's paying cash. I just deposit it myself." I asked, "Can I see the deposits?" She said, "Why don't you trust me?" Classic move. Then I noticed our family debit card had some strange charges. Not huge, but weird. $189, Urban Outfitters. $312, Tattoo Studio. $82, Vegan Bakery, we're not vegan. $599, Apple Store gift card. Dana said they were just little things she picked up. Little things? That $599 gift card ended up being used at 2 a.m. the next night from the IP address in the guest house. I confronted her. She went into full deflection mode. "He's just a kid. He needed help." "God, Mitchell, you act like I'm running a brothel." I didn't say anything, but I started watching. Quietly. I'd leave for work early, then double back and sit in my car across the street. And sure enough, I saw it. Dana sneaking out of the main house in leggings and a hoodie. No makeup. Hair in a messy bun. Carrying a little bag. She'd knock. Landon would open. And she'd go in. Sometimes for 10 minutes. Sometimes an hour. Once 3 hours. When she came back, she always walked differently. Shoulders looser. Face flushed. One day, I saw a text flash on her phone. It said, "That thing you did last night. I still can't feel my legs, LOL fire." No name. Just a heart emoji. She snatched her phone like it was a bomb. "It's a joke from Jill. You don't get our humor." Jill's 54. She makes quilts. But here's what broke me. I found a bank statement. She had opened a separate checking account. My name wasn't on it. And from that account, regular payments, $750, $500, $300 to Landon Reeve. The memo line said, "Housekeeping help. Errands. Creative consulting." Creative consulting. I laughed so hard I almost blacked out. That night, I walked into the guest house while Landon wasn't home. Dana was at yoga. I pretended I was checking the water heater. Inside, the place was comfortable. A little too comfortable. There were 2 toothbrushes. One black, one pink. A silk robe draped over the chair. Dana's perfume, the one I got her for our anniversary, sitting by the bed. On the nightstand, a framed photo of him and Dana, laughing, cheeks pressed together. It wasn't just cheating. It was nesting. Later that week, I tried to talk to Landon. I found him outside, cleaning the guest house windows. I asked him if everything was working fine inside. He smiled like he didn't know I already knew. "Yeah, man. Super grateful for this opportunity. Dana's been awesome. Like, really supportive." Supportive. I bet. That night, I stood outside the guest house. Just stood. My hand on the doorknob. I could hear her laugh inside. I almost went in. But I didn't. I stood there, listening, realizing I was no longer a husband. I was the landlord of her affair. After that night, I didn't sleep much. I'd lie in bed beside Dana, listening to her steady breathing, and wonder how someone could lie so completely, so comfortably, with their whole body, Some mornings she'd kiss me on the cheek and say, "Don't forget we have dinner with the Parkers next week," as if our life was still alive. As if the house behind our house didn't exist. I played along. For now. But I started recording everything. I installed a security camera in the backyard. Not hidden. Not obvious either. I told Dana it was for wildlife surveillance. She laughed and said, "Since when do you care about raccoons?" Since the raccoon started sleeping with my wife. I also synced her iCloud to an old iPad I kept in my desk. She never changed her password. She was smart in manipulation, dumb in digital security. Within a week, I had screenshots of their texts, audio clips from voice memos, calendar reminders titled L Laundry Drop, code for her visits, and a selfie taken in our bed while I was out of town with Landon shirtless under our comforter. He wore my watch. Again, one night, I watched her type. "Do you think he suspects anything?" Landon replied, "Nah, he's too boring to connect dots." Dana wrote back, "I almost feel bad, but not really. You make me feel like I'm 20 again." Then she sent a photo. Not nude, but almost worse. She was smiling. Soft. Real. The kind of smile I hadn't seen directed at me in years. I started planning my exit. But not before she understood the scale of what she'd done. I met with a lawyer. Quietly. Asked about financial protection, asset tracing. The guest house was under my name. So was the house, the cars, the business. She'd have nowhere to hide. But the lawyer gave me one important piece of advice. If you want clean leverage, you need more than texts. You need intent. You need proof of support, not just cheating. So I dug deeper. I checked our shared credit card history. And there it was. $1,250 to a custom printing studio. $480 to a personal photography session. $320 to a website domain registrar, landonstudio.me. Landon was launching a personal brand. Funded by Dana. I searched the site. It wasn't live yet. But the design mock-up said, "Visual storytelling meets digital passion." Curated by L. I found a hidden photo album. Model, Dana. In a silk robe. Sitting on the edge of his bed. Looking like she belonged there. I confronted her that night. Not directly. I walked into the kitchen and said, "I think we should end the guest house rental. I'm not comfortable with how close things have gotten." Her face froze for a split second. Then, "Mitchell, he's practically a kid. Why are you acting like he's a threat?" "Because you treat him like he's more than a tenant." She paused. Just a flicker. "You're imagining things." I stared at her. Hard. "I'm not. I've seen the receipts." That shook her. She grabbed a dish towel, wiped a spotless counter, then whispered, "We can talk about this later. The kids are upstairs." Coward. But something shifted. She started deleting messages more often, keeping her phone face down. She stopped bringing Landon leftovers. I could tell she was rattled. But not sorry. Never sorry. A week later, she came into the living room wearing perfume. The one she only wears for special occasions. Tight dress. Lipstick. I asked, "Date night?" She said, "Girls' dinner." Then added, "Don't wait up." I didn't. Instead, I followed her. She didn't go to the restaurant, she said. She parked 3 blocks from the house and walked to the guest house. In heels. I waited. I waited 2 hours. Then I knocked on the door. Silence. Then movement. Then Dana's voice, through the door. "Mitchell? What are you doing here? What are you doing here?" Silence. Then the lock clicked. She opened the door just a crack. Hair messy. Lipstick faded. I saw Landon's hoodie on the floor behind her. "This isn't what it looks like," she said. I nodded. "No. It's exactly what it looks like." She tried to speak again. I walked away. That night, she didn't come back to the main house. I sat alone in the kitchen, scrolling through messages. One from Landon stood out. "So, what's the plan if he finds out?" Her reply? "Let him. He'll never leave. He's too safe." She didn't come back that night. In the morning, the bed beside me was still cold. Her perfume lingered, but her presence was gone. I didn't call. I didn't text. I made coffee, sat on the porch, listened to birds I never noticed before. A couple jogged past, smiled at me like I was a normal husband on a normal Tuesday. But something had snapped. Something in me was done begging reality to be kinder than it was. At 10:42 a.m., Dana walked in through the side door. Hair wet, hoodie zipped up, flip-flops. She didn't speak. Neither did I. She walked to the fridge, poured herself orange juice, and drank it straight from the bottle, like a college student after a hangover. Then she said, "Do you want to talk, or Or just glare at me forever? I said nothing. She continued. What happened last night wasn't what you think. I tilted my head. You mean you weren't in the guest house with Landon for 3 hours in a silk dress? She sighed. It was supposed to be one night. One escape. And then it got complicated. 4 months is a long night. Don't do that. Do what? Count. She didn't cry. Didn't even try. Instead, she said, I felt invisible, Mitchell. For years. You always provided, but you stopped noticing me. And your solution was to pay a teenager to notice you? She put the glass down. He made me feel like someone again. Not just a mom. Not just a wife. But someone. Desirable. I stared at her. Do you know how insane that sounds? You think I don't know that? You think I haven't hated myself for it? Have you? Long pause. Then the words that made my skin crawl. Some days. No. It was the first time I felt alive in years. I sat down at the kitchen island. Calm. Too calm. So what now? You want me to forgive you? We just pretend none of this happened. I don't know what I want. You want him. She hesitated. I did. Maybe I still do. I don't know. That was the moment something solid inside me broke. Because it wasn't just betrayal. It was that she didn't even know if she regretted it. I spent the next week preparing quietly. I met with my lawyer again. This time with a folder. Inside. Screenshots of transactions. Messages. Voice recordings. The photo of her robe in his room. Even a TikTok she posted on a burner account with a blurred face and the caption. Age is just a number when the chemistry's right. Fire #Norgret. Yes. I found her burner. My lawyer raised an eyebrow and said, You've got enough to bury her. Clean split. You keep the house. Kids stay with you unless she fights. She'll lose. I didn't smile. Just nodded. But I wasn't done. I started building a digital timeline. I wanted dates, receipts, emotional patterns. I wanted to understand how a marriage dies, in days, not decades. I cross-referenced her calendar with Landon's posts. Matched receipts to lies. Built a literal spreadsheet of betrayal. Call it obsession. I called it clarity. I also contacted a private investigator I trusted. Asked him to look into Landon's background, not because I cared, but because I knew Dana didn't. Turns out, her soulmate had 2 fake LLCs, a suspended license, and a sealed juvenile record for coercive behavior. Cute. Meanwhile, Dana acted like we were still in the same home. She'd make dinner, ask if I wanted salmon or steak. She'd put on lipstick, come downstairs, and say, Do I look okay? As if we were still us. I never answered, but I watched her unravel. The tension got to her. She started drinking at night. Just 1 glass, then 2. She'd stare out the window of our bedroom and whisper things like, I don't think he loves me back. Do you think I'm a monster? I never replied. Because deep down, she didn't want answers. She wanted rescue. Then came the twist I didn't see coming. Landon moved out. Just like that. No note. No goodbye. No final, thanks for everything. Dana came home that afternoon and found the guest house empty. His stuff gone. Her perfume bottle? Left on the counter. Her lingerie? Folded neatly on the bed. She ran to the main house. He left. He blocked me. I don't understand it. I looked at her. And for the first time, I smiled. Maybe he noticed you the way you always wanted. And that was enough to run. She collapsed onto the floor, sobbing, begging me to talk, to explain, to fix what she broke. I stood above her and whispered, You made me invisible. Now watch me disappear. That night, I moved into the guest house. Not out of spite, but because she needed to sit in the wreckage she created. Every corner of the main house reeked of what she did. I wouldn't breathe that air anymore. She cried through the walls. I slept like I hadn't in years. One morning, I found a note on the doorstep. Please let me explain. One last time. Just hear me. I burned it, then blocked her number. When Landon left, Dana fell apart. Not immediately. At first, she acted like it was temporary. He just needs space, she said. He'll come back once he calms down. She cleaned the guest house like she was preparing for his return, made the bed, lit a candle, folded one of his hoodies, and laid it on the chair like it was some kind of altar. I watched from the kitchen window. She didn't know I was watching anymore. That was the difference. I had already disconnected, but Dana wasn't the type to sit in silence. Her panic morphed into performance. She started posting again. Photos of sunsets. Quotes about healing. Captions like, Sometimes your heart breaks to let the light in broken heart sun. #growth, #forgiveness, #grace. I nearly choked on my coffee when she posted. You don't know what someone is carrying. Be kind. Kind? She was carrying a teenage boy's hoodie and a double life. Then came the real move. She reached out to our friends. Not all at once. Strategically. She called my sister and said I had emotionally abandoned her. Told one of our couple friends that I'd changed, that I'd gotten cold and paranoid. She hinted that I was the one who had maybe, possibly, stepped out first. Gaslighting 101. But it didn't work, because I didn't respond. And people started to notice. One night she texted me. If you don't speak, people will believe whatever they want. I didn't answer. She followed with, I need you to stop making me look crazy. I replied, you did that on your own. She upped her game. Posted an old photo of us on Instagram, one of those posed couple shots from a Christmas party. Caption, not all perfect pictures tell the whole story. Some are filled with pain behind the smiles. The comments were a disaster. You deserve peace, babe Bret Hart. Whatever happened, stay strong. Men don't understand what women carry. One even said, let him go, queen. You were always too powerful for him. Powerful? She was a manipulator in a silk robe with a burner TikTok. But I stayed silent. Still, because I was saving my words for the right moment. In the meantime, I was working. Quietly. I met with our mutual accountant and froze the shared assets. I had the guest house delisted as rental eligible. I changed the deed. She wouldn't get $1 from it if she tried to sell. Legally, I was still married. But in every meaningful way, she had already lost me. Then came the twist. She went public. Podcast appearance. Some influencer friend of hers invited her on to talk about reinvention, womanhood, and breaking free from old definitions. I knew what was coming. I still listened. She said things like, you can be in a relationship and still feel completely alone. Sometimes we chase attention because we're starved of affection. I made mistakes, but I was just trying to feel alive again. Then, the kicker. He was cold. I was invisible. I didn't cheat. I disconnected. She didn't name me, but she didn't have to. After that, I got texts from people I hadn't heard from in years. Hey man, you good? Just listen to the podcast. She really went there. She's telling her side. You gonna tell yours? Not yet, I thought. But soon. Then something happened I hadn't planned. Our oldest daughter, 13, overheard someone at school talking about the podcast. Came home and asked me, Dad, are you and Mom getting a divorce? I froze. That was the moment the abstract became real. So I sat her down. I didn't bash Dana. I didn't unload my pain. I just said, sometimes grown-ups make mistakes that hurt each other. And when that happens, they have to make decisions that protect everyone. Even when it's hard. She nodded. Quietly. Then asked, did Mom hurt you? I took a deep breath. Yeah, she did. And I finally cried. Not for Dana, but for the years I'd spent making myself small so she could feel big. That night, Dana came into the guest house. Didn't knock. Just walked in like she still had the right. She looked tired. Pale. No makeup. Hair undone. Like the version of her I used to know. She sat across from me and whispered. I didn't think it would end like this. I didn't answer. She looked around the room. Said, you used to leave your socks on this floor. I raised an eyebrow. Now it's just silence. She looked up at me. Do you still love me? I took a long breath. I loved the version of you that hadn't learned how to lie so beautifully. She blinked. No tears. Just understanding. And for the first time, maybe regret. Real regret. She stood. Said, do what you have to do. Then she left. 2 weeks later, I did. I posted a video. No rant. No emotion. Just me sitting calmly, telling my story. I shared screenshots. Dates. Financial proof. Quietly, clearly. No hate. Just facts. It went viral in our circles. One comment stood out. He didn't scream. He didn't fight. He just showed us the truth. Dana tried to recover. Posted a photo of a journal and tea, captioned, taking time to heal. But no one cared anymore. The mask had slipped. The image shattered. No? I sleep better. The house is quiet. The guest house is mine. And so is the peace. But this story isn't quite over. Because in part 5A, I'm going to tell you what happened the day we signed the divorce papers and the final thing she tried to pull. She wasn't done, but neither was I. We agreed to meet at the lawyer's office. Neutral ground. Conference table. Glass walls. Nothing soft about it. The appointment was set for 10 a.m. I showed up 10 minutes early. Alone. I wore a dark blazer, clean shave, no expression. Dana walked in at 10:01. All white silk and fake composure. Hair perfect. Nails perfect. Face blank. She didn't look at me when she sat down. Didn't speak either. It was just us, the lawyer, and the quiet ticking of the clock. Let's begin, the lawyer said. He explained what would happen. The documents. The disclosures. The asset splits. There wasn't much to debate anymore. She had forfeited the guest house. I had protected the business. The kids would stay primarily with me. Dana would get a modest support package enough to land softly, but far from what she once expected. She nodded. Calm. Too calm. And then, halfway through the session, she reached into her bag, pulled out a small envelope, pushed it across the table. To me. Read it, she said softly. The lawyer looked uncomfortable. We can finish the documents first. Let him read it now, she repeated. I opened it. Inside, a folded sheet of paper. Handwritten. One paragraph. If you ever remember the way I looked at you when we danced in the kitchen that Christmas Eve, please don't hate me forever. I didn't cheat because I stopped loving you. I cheated because I stopped loving myself. I'm sorry. I stared at it for a moment. Not angry. Not moved. Just tired. Then I folded it again, slid it back across the table, and said, We're not here for memories. We're here for closure. She blinked fast. But no tears. Because she wasn't sorry. She was scared. Scared of who she was without someone to hold her reflection for her. We signed. It took 15 minutes. 15 minutes to end 15 years. When it was done, she stood up slowly and whispered, So, this is it? I looked at her for the first time that morning. Really looked. She didn't look strong anymore. She looked like the echo of someone who used to be loved. This is it, I said. She nodded. But then, as she reached for the door, she paused, turned around, and tried one last thing. Can we at least have lunch sometime? Just to talk? No drama. Just human. I didn't flinch. Dana. I spent years shrinking so you could feel bigger. I'm not doing that again. It's not about you and me anymore. She hesitated. Then what's it about? I stood. It's about me. Finally. And I walked out. Later that night, I got a text from a number I didn't recognize. It was a photo of Landon in New York. New girl. Same hoodie. New life. Caption. Karma always upgrades. Classy. I blocked the number. Not because it hurt. Because it didn't. Because I was free. After the papers were signed, I didn't celebrate. No drinks. No music. No guys' night out. I went home, took off my shoes, and sat in the middle of my kitchen floor with a glass of water and the sound of absolutely nothing. That was the win. Not freedom. Not justice. Silence. The guest house, my guest house, became my space. I moved in officially, even though the main house was still mine too. I didn't want it. Every wall in there still echoed her voice. So I stripped the space down to essentials. Bed. Desk. Books. No framed photos. No shared memories. Just me. And for the first time in years, that was enough. I started waking up early. Not because I had to, but because I wanted to. I'd make eggs. Read something printed on real paper. Walk the neighborhood without earbuds. There's a strange kind of peace that comes after long pain. It doesn't shout. It just stays. The kids adjusted. I didn't talk to them about their mom unless they asked. I didn't poison their picture of her. Life would do that on its own if it had to. Instead, I listened. Held space. Made pancakes on weekends. Said, yes, more. Said, I'm proud of you more. Then one afternoon, in the middle of a random grocery run, I met Sierra. She was standing in front of the tea aisle, trying to decide between chamomile and peppermint. She made a joke about caffeine anxiety, and I made a joke back about emotional spirals and lemon balm. We both laughed. It wasn't flirting. It was real. Human. We bumped into each other again a week later, bookstore this time. She was in the psychology section, buying a gift for her therapist, apparently. That made me smile. She smiled back. That time, I asked her name. Sierra wasn't a fantasy. She didn't try to heal me. She didn't look like an Instagram filter. She looked like a woman who'd lived a life, made her own messes, and still woke up kind. We started with coffee. Then more coffee. Then walks. Long ones. And somewhere along the way, I realized something. She didn't want to be rescued. And I didn't need to be, either. One night, we sat on my porch. She looked out at the stars and said, "You don't talk much about her." I nodded. There's not much left to say. That's a heavy silence. I looked at her. It used to be. She smiled. And now? I took a deep breath. Now it's just quiet. She didn't reply. She reached out, took my hand, and held it. Not to fix me. Just to say, I'm here. That's the thing about peace. It doesn't always arrive loudly. Sometimes it just walks in, barefoot and calm, and says, "You're done."